The wind knocks my internet out.
Well, let's see. We have a bunch of people. If you want to get started on time, Lori, what do you think?
Ronson, it's 1 minute after. We have 20 people. You want to give it another couple minutes or go ahead and get started?
Yeah, maybe what we can do is get started in putting our information in the chat, like who you are and where you're from.
Yeah, for welcome and introductions. We pretty much know each other. It's been a really great group. It's just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. But yeah, if you want to share your personal, your information on the chat room, that'd be great. And we'll pick that up. But I want to give speakers enough time to get their information out. So I think we should just go ahead and get started and let everybody catch up, if that's okay with everyone. So we're going to receive and file our last 4 January meeting notes, and we'll just receive and file those. And we'll just move into our SPA 8 service providers updates. So I'm going to turn this over to Courtney, Anna, and Sherry. I'll let you guys jump in there.
Good afternoon, everybody. Anna's going to present for us today. Just provide an update on our services since we last met in January. Go ahead, Anna.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Anna. I am the program manager for outreach in the SPA 8 region. And yeah, we can get started. So I would like to officially present our team. So this is a picture we took in one of our outings. This is on the left-hand side, it's Lydia, Jenny, and then Courtney, our new team member, Megan, myself, and our new team member, Robin. And this next slide. Now that we're a full team, a team of officially 4, our schedules have changed a little bit. So we'll be alternating between cities and locations, but essentially these are the cities and the dates that you'll find us in those cities. Next slide. So we're starting off with a success story. Our first success is Barbara. She was first encountered by Pat in August of 2021, and she faced a lot of obstacles, which we are glad to say that she has overcome. Some of those were mental health and income and all of that. But now, as of January 2023, she's been permanently housed at West Haven Apartments, and we're so happy to see her finally indoors and doing great. Yeah. Next slide. Our next success story is Myra. She was an individual that was encountered at the Lomita McCoy encampment in July of 2021. She was actually one of the first few that was enrolled into the tiny homes in Harbor City. From there, it was just great things after great things. And as of February 2023, she's been able to be housed in permanent housing with the assistance of an emergency housing voucher as well. So Myra is already housed. Next slide. These are some of the community engagements, some of the joint outreaches and departments that we work with, as well as the shelters that we collaborate with as well. And they've been remaining the same as last time, but I would like to highlight the Carson city staff and the Torrance city staff for continuing the joint outreaches with us, and just being an extra force and a collaborator is a great help, I know, to both teams, but especially to the individuals within these cities. Next slide. So to kind of go based off a little bit more, in Gardena, we've continued the joint outreaches between PATH, Harbor Interfaith, and sometimes LASA. Mental Health America as well continues to do the joint outreaches. And this is in a specific 2 encampments by the riverbed and 1 by the freeway. And also just in the general Gardena city as well. And Carson and Torrance, again, as I mentioned before, we've continued outreach with city staff. In Lawndale, we continue to do joint outreaches with LASA, while also receiving the extra support or referrals from the city staff of Lawndale, either by the mayor or by their public works staff as well. With Department of Health Services, we've continued to collaborate with them whenever they're out with their mobile health clinic. We join forces with them. Recently, we've started to establish biweekly outings in the city of Wilmington, and we'll either be by Eubanks, Beacon Door, or Beacon Light Mission, Beacon Light Mission and Doors of Hope. And so we'll provide services and referrals with DHS help. Next slide. And then again, once again, we're continuing the LA Hub request. If you're familiar with it, please continue to make those requests. Next slide. For the month of January and February, we've obtained 13 requests, and this is a breakdown of our referrals. Carson continues to be our biggest referral city, which is not a bad thing. It's awesome that they're continuing to do the referrals, but we would like every other city to continue as well, making the referrals. And it's just a matter of doing a quick little 2-second survey as to any individuals you see on the streets. Next slide. So this is a little bit of our information on our current caseload. At the moment, we have 44. We do have 4 team members, but 2 of those are slowly increasing their caseload. So that's why our caseload is a little bit low at the moment, but I'm pretty sure by the next presentation, it'll double, if not triple. So at the moment, we have 16 seniors in Supervisor District 2 and 9 seniors in Supervisor District 4. Outreach interactions have been 102 for the past 2 months. And out of those 102, so far we've had 10 enrollments. So this has been a slow progress, but again, the weather has also affected all of that interactions. At the moment, we have 3 pending permanent housing and 1 pending project-based housing placement as well. This is a little bit of a breakdown of our outcomes year to date for SD2 and SD4. Again, the weather has not been easy on us and on the participants, so our referrals have been on the low end for this past 2 months. But again, once the weather gets a little bit better, I'm sure this will increase even more. I would like to highlight the permanent housing, though. That has been a great increase. We have made more referrals. We have made a little more placements as well. And this has been a great achievement from both sides, from both Supervisor District 4 team and Supervisor District 2 teams as well. Next slide. Our current efforts year to date. So at the moment, so far we have 8 referrals to LAHSA interim housing. 15 have been made to Bridge Housing. 12 have been made to either Department of Health Services or Department of Mental Health interim housing. 27 to Safe Parking, and 18 to tiny homes that either is in Redondo Beach, Torrance, or Harbor City. For vouchers, we have not received any new vouchers, so this number remains the same as last meeting. And then our exit strategies remain to be direct placements, shared housing, SRO living facilities, recuperative care, or interim housing with case management. Next slide. And then some of our challenges, as I mentioned before, the rain and the extreme cold weather has made it difficult for this past 2 months, not only with interacting with participants, but also being getting them to go out and see units or be connected to different services as well. Shelters have been at their max capacity, and or unfortunately COVID lockdowns and quarantine that has been increasing lately as well. There has also been a lack of interim housing availability, and low affordable housing availability, especially for seniors, is, as we all know, extremely low. For street to subsidy, unfortunately, they still do not have any availability. Next slide. And if you would like to contact either Courtney or myself, this is our contact information. You can make any direct referrals. If you'd like to collaborate with us, please reach out. We're always open to collaborating with other agencies, or if you just have any questions or concerns, you can also feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Hey, Anna, just a quick question. I think the Street to Subsidy program, they restarted this year, and I think they have 200 slots.
Oh, okay. They usually start like in the summer. Did you just obtain that information?
Well, I spoke to Daniel just a couple weeks ago, and he mentioned he had 200 slots. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so just FYI.
Sound good. Thank you
Yeah.
for the update. I'll let our team know.
Yeah, I've been referring people to that program.
Thank you, Anna. Did anybody else have any questions for Anna at this time? I don't know, maybe Anna or Ronson. I saw Andy Bales from Union Rescue Mission on a news media broadcast that was talking about, I think, his winter shelter. Are they open for more beds there for people to go to and shelter?
I believe at the moment they only have availabilities in spas 2 and 4. So that's more like up West Hollywood in that area.
Okay, thank you.
We actually have, the Long Beach Multi-Service Center has opened up. They've taken their waiting room and turned it into a warming spot. So they are having overnight through the end of this weekend. So they have 40 beds over there right now. And they are pretty much treating it like any other inclement weather site. They are bringing in meals, so that is open through the end of this week at the MSC.
That's great help. Okay, anything else? No? Thanks, Anna. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 4, which is our presentation of Harbor Connects. And we have
Councilman Mayor Tanaka, Sherry usually also presents as well.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Sherry.
Okay, thanks for having me today. It's been an interesting day. We're dealing with a 5 foot of water flood here at our shelter. So if you see me pop up immediately, it's because we've got ongoing problems going here. We were trying to figure out how to relocate all the residents to another site. We have no restroom facilities, but hopefully we're through this. So just our interim housing updates, San Pedro interim housing. We currently have 14 vacancies and 12 permanent housing placements. San Pedro Bridge Home, we have 3 vacancies with 14 permanent placements. Redondo Beach Pallet Shelter has no vacancies and 9 permanent placements. Torrance Pallet Shelter currently has no vacancies and 7 placements with another 3 pending. Just real quickly, the number of vacancies at San Pedro interim housing site. I know Lori heard me talk about this at another meeting, but we're having some challenges with the referral system in getting people into those beds. Difference being DHS and LASA's ability to fill the beds is very different. LASA, you can go into HMIS, you can click a few areas and boom, somebody's matched to an interim housing bed. Whereas DHS, you have to do an 8-page referral that then has to be entered into their database, which is CHAMP. And most folks, especially outreach people, do not have access to CHAMP, nor are they actually willing to do the 8-page referral. So we are having some conversations with DHS on how we can improve that, because we currently have, I think, about 13 referrals that are actually safety transfers from outside of SPA 8. So essentially what that means is they've been at another interim housing site where, due to behavioral issues or mental health episodes, they weren't able to stay at that site. So they are being transferred to another site for safety reasons. So we want to make sure that, we are getting some local folks into the shelter here as well. Goal attainment for the CES individual system, those that have been worked with through the time limited subsidies, we've had 18 placements. Those placed through either outreach or housing navigation has been 19. And then through our 3 independent city contracts with the beach cities, another 38 individuals have been permanently housed. For our transitional age youth program, we've had 12 individuals that have been moved into permanent housing. And we are increasing our partnerships. We just got a new youth demonstration project funding, which is HUD direct funding. So we have a new organization that's going to be providing street outreach and housing navigation. In fact, it's a brand new 501c3, so we're really excited about that. And then through our family systems, we've had 348 families that have been assessed, have come in for services. 71 so far that have been placed into permanent housing, and then another 39 that have maintained their housing through prevention services this year. I decided to kind of switch things up on the success story this month, but did want to report. We met this Monday with Beacon Landing, which is a brand new permanent supportive housing that is opening up soon here in San Pedro. It is an 88 unit permanent supportive housing. It is literally across the street from Bridge Home San Pedro. We are super, super excited. In fact, literally get to watch this thing go together so quickly. It's Abode Homes is putting it together, and it's the modulars. So they actually were just bringing in the already constructed units. And that's the first time that I've ever had a chance to see that. I am extremely impressed on how quickly those units can go together. They built a 3-story, project in literally no time. And now all they're doing is the connections, the outside, concrete surfacing and all that other kind of stuff, but super, super exciting. So 45 of those units will be for chronically homeless single adults. The other 43 units are being funded by Department of Mental Health, which means that individuals moving in there would have to be connected to a mental health clinic and actually engaged in services, which means billable hours. Or we got a little bit of flexibility if they have a mental health diagnosis and have a verification of disability from either a licensed clinician or a physician, then they would be, there you go, Ronson. It looks so different now. It literally is really taking shape. So what was the other thing I was going to tell you? So we are in kind of the lease up conversations. So their goal was to open in July. Unfortunately, not only this project, but several other projects due to the amount of rain that we've had, it's brought a lot of these projects to a stall. So what they are anticipating, their new timeline now is to open in late October, and then to begin the matching process the first part of September 2023. We just kind of Monday, we went over clarifying steps, what the roles and responsibilities would be for lease up. So LA Family Housing will be the service provider at this particular site. And as I said, Abode is the developer on here. Obviously, the Housing Authority will be involved because these are project-based Section 8. But we are going to accommodate even with office space. So the day that we start working with clients to bring in their documentation and filling out their Housing Authority applications, we will be ready to roll without any kind of delays and make sure that we end homelessness for another 88 individuals. And that is my report for the day.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Okay. So Ronson, am I moving on to 5? Or am I gonna, oh, I'm sorry, I missed
Yes.
Sherry. Okay, so we are going to number 4 now. So this will be the Harbor Connects. And Kent Wallace Meggs and Pastor Lisa Williams.
Hello, everyone. It's good to see some of you on Zoom. It's been a minute since I've seen many of you, and it's been great. As I listen to all of the work that you are doing, I just want to say, from somebody who's outside and inside, I hold this very strange place in the universe where I'm inside your homeless projects and I'm not, and I'm in, I just I'm all over, right, Sherry? So but I have enough to say that the work that all of you are doing is absolutely incredible, and it is important work, and I understand how exhausting it is, and that you don't ever get enough appreciation. The appreciation comes, of course, when you're able to house somebody, and that's what we're all trying to continue to do. But just know that the people on the outside really do appreciate the work that you're doing. And thank you very much. But I am Lisa Williams, the pastor at San Pedro United Methodist Church on the corner of 6th and Grand. And I am also the chairperson for the Harbor Connects, brand new organization that has started. So we're just going to give you a little bit of information, tell you a little bit about who we are and what we're doing in the community to help bridge some of these gaps. So I think my next slide is to tell you what we were and then what we are now. So as we know, life during the pandemic was crazy, and we all kind of were sitting around wondering what we were supposed to do and how we were supposed to do it. And like many things, it happens around a kitchen table or a kitchen bar stool is how it happened in this case, where we just realized that there's so much need and nobody knows what's going on. I mean, this was the time when our folks in the encampments had no idea what was happening. And we realized that we needed to kind of pull together and quickly pivot to do something for our community. So it was actually on a call with Elise Swanson from the Chamber of Commerce in San Pedro, where I said, you know, what are we going to do, Elise? We got to help these people that don't know that they need help yet, because we've got so many folks that are going to be near homeless before they know it, and we need to stop that gap as soon as we can. So we did a little thinking, we made a few thoughts, and we said, well, what if Feed and Be Fed from the Garden Church on 6th Street would be our fiduciary agents? And we made a call, we put it together, we got folks in the community rallied behind it, and we just went to action, and we raised over $200,000, excuse me, more than $200,000. And we had some help from the supervisor's office, the city council, CD15. A lot of you, even on this call, were serious donors, and we just made it happen. And we gave out over 300 microgrants, at least of $500 or more. And it was just a way for us to help people in a time of crisis and a time of need. And we knew, as this was starting to come out of the pandemic, like everyone's talking about, are we out of it? Who knows? But what's it going to look like afterwards? What are we going to do? We know that there's still going to be a need. And so that's where, next slide, please. We are now taking Harbor Neighborhood Relief Fund. We are now Harbor Connects. We have a 501c3. And again, the idea behind this is still the same idea that started around that kitchen table. And that is to help those that are falling through the cracks. And we know that many of our folks are one paycheck away from becoming homeless. They need tires to get to their work in order to keep their job. You all in the service providing arena need help, assistance. What happens on a weekend when you can't get, you've got somebody who's ready to go into shelter, into housing, and you can't do anything with them? Well, we have some flexibility and we have some money. And so the hope is that we can work together to connect the folks that are needing assistance and help you at the same time. So Kent's going to go into a lot more about who and how we're going to do that, but we're super excited to be a part of the CD15 area and to share with you our model, to share with you what we hope to do. And of course, this is going to take all of us. We want your input. We want to know what works and what doesn't work, because we know it's about relationships and how we can grow together. So I think our next slide is going to tell us what our mission is, and that really is to support our neighbors and our service providers against the fight against poverty. And we all want to put that together. Go ahead. The division. Of course, the vision is for the Harbor neighborhood. Well, now I'm embarrassed because I can't see the whole thing. I'm gonna move over here. I should know it by heart, but it always works better when I read it. Harbor area neighbors ending poverty through meaningful and intentional connections. And I think that's the really intentional and meaningful connections is the key words there in regards to the vision. And then of course, our values, the next slide, please, is really people-centered and process-oriented and solution focused. We all know the line about, you know, we want to be a part of solutions. And I think that that's still incredibly important value for all of us. We want to be tangible, compassionate, and flexible. Flexible is key in the way in which we hope to work, and in a spirit of collaboration, and create diverse perspectives, because it's in that area of collaboration where we can do the work of finding solutions to all of these problems. So it's great to be with you. It's good to tell you more about who we are. And I'm going to turn it over to Kent, our executive director.
Thank you. And as Pastor Lisa said, it's so wonderful to see a lot of familiar faces. I am still sort of new to the area, and it's nice for me to log into these and recognize faces and names. And again, just to echo this sincere appreciation for all you guys are doing. And that is sort of, as Pastor Lisa has indicated, why Harbor Connects has grown to what it is and why we're continuing to grow. We had a board retreat, a mini board retreat a few weeks ago, and Pastor Lisa had received this quote as part of the Chinese New Year. And it has just always stuck with me, and I always try to go back to it. It's before you can ever inspire, motivate, or influence, you must connect first. And that is something that Harbor Connects, that is sort of our mantra, is how do we connect you know, various service providers with each other? How do we connect those who can utilize those services from the service providers? How we can connect them into that? And just how can we be there to bolster what everyone in the community is doing? And one of the big hopes that we have for Harbor Connects is that what we're beginning to create here is an incubator for something that is going to grow, but can then be replicated in other areas. And that's sort of why we wanted to share with you today what we're doing here. Our geographic footprint is primarily CD15. So if you're dealing with individuals in those areas, we will be able to assist you. But right now we are just limited to CD15. So I want to put that out there so that there aren't any expectations as we move forward. So if we could hit the next slide, please. The way that Harbor Connects has worked is we really have drawn upon what was the relief fund that Pastor Lisa spoke to, of where we're able to connect individuals who, as we often say, are one unexpected event away from not being able to make their rent, make their mortgage, pay their various bills, you know, if, as Pastor Lisa said, if they need tires or something like that in order to be able to get to work so that they can continue their employment, so that they can maintain their housing, that is where we come in. And most of these requests, when they come in, we are able to get the funds either delivered to the person or into the hand of, such as the mechanic or, you know, the utility company or what have you, within 24 hours. Oftentimes it's just within a matter of an hour or two that we're able to assist someone. And so the relief fund is one of the key pillars that we are continuing with. And we just find that is so critical, because oftentimes what we're finding is, you know, so many providers, their hands are tied in terms of how they can actually support someone or being able to respond immediately. And again, we get those calls oftentimes after hours. And so we're able to sort of bridge that gap until the service provider is able to then take over and continue to work with that client or bring that client into their services. The other thing that we're beginning to explore, and this came out of just several meetings that we've been having and just us listening to what folks are saying, as Pastor Lisa has indicated, so many of our service providers, if not all of our service providers, the frontline folks are just worn out. And they are trying to manage, you know, multiple individuals with whom they're working. So what we're going to do is create this client advocate program. Those advocates will be there to walk alongside of anyone who's receiving services, to be able to help them navigate those various resources that are coming their way. recognizing that most people who are experiencing homelessness or, have recently become rehoused or just in that vulnerable population, they're oftentimes so overwhelmed with just the trauma and everything they're trying to do just to keep their head above water, that something as simple as trying to get to the DMV to get a new driver license or new ID is something that becomes a challenge for them. And so we're going to have these individuals, these volunteer advocates who are there for them to be able to build that relationship and that trust so that they can help assist the individuals who again, are returning to housing or who have recently been rehoused. And so that is very critical. And also something that really makes us unique is how that will then link back to the relief fund. And therefore the advocates will have access when they realize that a family or an individual is struggling to be able to request funds to assist that family through Harbor Connects. And all of that is made possible by our third pillar, which is our partner network. On January 11th, we did a little stakeholders meeting here at our office. And the thing that I heard over and over again was the ability to come together and just network. There was a breakfast at the beginning of that, and everyone said that that was the most valuable part of their day, was just being able to come together, want to see their colleagues, see their friends, but really just have that opportunity to network and get to know each other a bit better and understand the programs that various service providers that offer and how they can then link the individuals with whom they're working into those programs. So we're beginning to just really make sure that we're providing that space that folks can come together and really work as a network so that we can better serve the communities that we're in. And also through that partner network, like I said, that is where the referrals for individuals who need our assistance will come. And because our partner networks are so trusted, basically when someone comes to us, we know that they're already vetted, and therefore we take that application. And as I said, we're able to process that very quickly to be able to assist someone. And if we can move to the next slide, please. And all of this is done through engaging. When I first arrived here, I've been the executive director since November 16th of 2022. So I'm still very new to the organization and to the work that we're doing. But one of the first things that the board of directors did is they took me out and started introducing me to people, because we want to make sure that everyone knows that we're here, we're in the community, and we're engaging. And our engaging is very intentional. The benefits, again, for those who work with Harbor Connects is that instant access to these funds that we have to be able to assist individuals. And again, being able to do that in a very timely process. And that process involves basically a very simple application. It is a one-page application that the service provider or either the individual will fill out and submit that to us. We then have a committee that goes through and vets those and just make sure that we're being good stewards of the money that we will be distributing to individuals. And through that, we have some incredible outcomes where we're able to help people stabilize, we're able to get people off the streets, we're able to help them begin to realign their life, and so that they can maintain their housing without this overwhelming burden of oftentimes that financial hole that they have possibly fallen into. And so again, we're able to provide that. Also, as part of the work that we're doing is we realize that oftentimes a service provider's income does not, especially those who are on the front line, does not sort of align with the cost of living here in Southern California. So we also have a certain pot of money that's been set aside so that we're able to provide some assistance direct to those frontline staff members who are doing this work that is so incredible and so needed in our communities. So we don't want them to also having to be worried about how are they going to make their rent and if they have an unexpected occurrence. So those are the ways in which we're really engaging in the community and engaging with our service providers and building that level of trust, not just again between the service providers, but also between us and those that the service providers are serving, and the relationship between the service providers and their clients. And then the next slide up, please, I think is time for Q&A. Again, why we're here, and we appreciate this invitation, was we really wanted to introduce this model because as we move forward, we want to see how we can help provide some technical assistance or guidance to other communities that will be wanting to do this same type of program in their area. So more than glad to take any questions and answers. As Pastor Lisa and I are very grateful to have this opportunity.
Kent and Pastor Lisa, thank you. So any questions? Jump in. It sounds like it's going to be a really great program, and Sherry's going to keep us up on all this stuff.
Yes, and we look forward to being able to come back and talk to you guys in another year or so and really be able to have the slides that show all the success stories that we have.
Okay, I see Lori's got her hand up.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Kent. Thank you, Pastor Lisa. I invited them because I'm very impressed with this program. It has a lot of similarities to the client aid programs that we've been running for quite a while. To the cities in the South Bay, even though this isn't available to you, quite often, Ronson and I get questions, how can our cities be more involved? How can our businesses or our stakeholders feel like they're part of the solution? And this program offers the ability to do that. Go to businesses like auto mechanics and tire stores and service-oriented businesses and see if they're willing to offer discounts when somebody comes through a program, or in this case, Harbor Connects. But if somebody comes to your city staff and said, look, I can't get to work because 2 tires popped and I don't have enough money, you can build relationships with some of those businesses to create that. And I think the engagement will make people feel more a part of. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Oh, great. Thanks, Lori. Sherry.
Yeah, just a real quick comment, more so than a question. And Kent and I have gotten the chance to meet each other. And of course, Lisa and I have known each other for a while, but the one part that Kent didn't bring out is that he's been in homeless services before. In fact, all the way back almost 20 years ago, he worked for Beyond Shelter, which was one of the, original master leasing, housing single adults, who had all these disabling conditions. So the population absolutely is not unfamiliar to him. Maybe the area is, but we are going to get you indoctrinated as quickly as possible, Ken, and really appreciate, having you here in the South Bay and part of this great effort.
Thank you so much. I am really enjoying just all the warm welcome that I received, but also, again, just it's so inspirational to see all the hard work that folks are doing here. And it's very unique from my perspective. As you said, I've been doing this for quite a while, primarily in East Los Angeles, South Central Los Angeles, and Skid Row. But there are, similarities to the populations across the world. So I'm glad to be part of this. And I look forward to us being able to, again, replicate this and make it grow.
Thanks. Ronson?
Yes, hi Ken. Hey, nice to meet you. Yeah, we had a question in the chat. Someone was just wondering how the program is being funded.
Yeah, well, the original relief fund was started just in terms of like community folks making donations. There were some foundations and some city and county money, but we received a seed grant from Council District 15, and that started in July of last year, and that will run for 2.5 years. And so it's that seed money that we're able to use to continue the fund, but also create the infrastructure that we need in order to be able to grow the organization.
Awesome. Well, we're glad you're a part of us, and I'm sure you're going to be very, very busy, but we appreciate everything that you're doing for us. Any other questions?
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, I'm sure our paths crossed down on Skid Row. I worked there for 12 years.
You look very familiar. And actually, I think you and I may have been at a Torrance theater performance a couple of 3 weeks ago. And we may have been at the same performance.
Anyway,
you were recognized as being good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other last questions here before we move on? No? Okay, thank you guys. That was a great presentation.
Thank you so much.
We're going to move on to our presentation from Department of Healthcare Services, Cal Optima. And I think we have, let's see, Kelly.
I am here.
It's all yours.
Oh, well, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure if you all have my slides or not. Oh, look at that. Ask and you shall receive. So, hi, everyone. I've been asked to give you all a brief overview of CalAIM and the services, the housing services that come with that. So I'm gonna quickly go through those and talk a little bit about those, and then open it up for questions if you have any about how this can be, how you can have access, or your clients can have access to these services in the future. So I always like to start off by saying that I'm a social worker, and I'm also a former CEO of a nonprofit. I used to run the National Health Foundation out in Los Angeles for several years. So I feel oftentimes like I need to be in one of those recovery meetings, because now I work for the dark side. I work for a health plan. But it is very, very appropriate, because not only is Cal Optima Health a nonprofit health plan, I've been hired to implement CalAIM, which is really Medi-Cal's recognition and appreciation that social determinants of health are 80% of a person's ability to be healthy, not what happens inside the hospital, but what happens on the outside of the hospital. So who better to advance that effort than somebody who has worked for those community-based organizations and understands the plight and the great work that happens there. So I've been here for about 9 months, and but I'm not sure I'll ever be fully recovered. I think I'm a community-based CEO for my life, but let's keep going. I'll tell you a little bit, if we go to the next slide, a little bit about Cal Optima Health. Our mission is to serve members with health and excellence. We were founded as Orange County's primary community health plan, and now we serve almost 1 million. I think we're up to 975,000, which I don't think is a good thing, because that just means that we have more and more people that are under the poverty line. So I'm not sure that that's necessarily a good thing. But what I do think is important to recognize is that we are the only health plan in Orange County. So I know that several of you, or if not all of you, are working within Los Angeles County, of course, and there are multiple health plans in Los Angeles County. So some of the things that we talk about may be a little bit more challenging in a county that has multiple health plans. We are the only show in town in Orange County. Next slide, please. And this just gives you a little bit of an idea of the background and the ages and ethnicities of our members. We can go to the next slide. So what is CalAIM? Like I said before, as I'm sure you know, CalAIM establishes the framework to address the social determinants of health, really recognizing that social factors play a much larger role in a person's ability to be healthy. And they have decided to make 14 community support, in addition to enhanced case management, now pretty much benefits. They're in a pilot stage. They're not official benefits yet. This is a pilot, but my gut is it's going to be long-term. But right now, these services are available to anybody who is a Medi-Cal member. Next slide, please. So what is enhanced case management? Next slide. Enhanced case management is like, you know, the mothership of case management is what I like to say. It's like everything that you need to take care of the whole person. I'm sure many of you have recognized and appreciate that when it comes to serving those that you serve, they may have a case that you may be one of several case managers that they have, that they may have, you know, one that helps them with housing, one that helps them with medical. This now is a covered benefit by Medi-Cal that says everybody who is on Medi-Cal that falls into a particular population of focus should just have one case manager, one enhanced case manager, and that person should handle all aspects of their care, a whole person approach. Next slide, please. And this just gives you a little bit of a visual of all those things that person can help with. They can help with food insecurity, they can help with housing, they should be helping with their medical needs. If there's somebody who's transitioned from the justice system, they should be helping with issues related with that. If they're postpartum, I mean, there's several populations of focus that you're going to see, but enhanced case management says we're going to handle and deal with all of those issues at the same time so that you do not have to have multiple people caring for you. Next slide, please. So Medi-Cal keeps adding populations of focus, and I feel at some point they're just going to have to say, look, everybody is in a population of focus, because if somebody is, you know, receiving Medi-Cal, chances are they fall into some sort of population of focus. But as of now, they have identified these as those that they are serving. So you can see in January of 2022, they added 5 different populations of focus. The first one being individuals and families experiencing homelessness. And then they keep moving down. We are expecting Justice Involved to be our next one. That's coming soon. Next slide, please. Oh, well, there we go. Little did I know, I had to write down the next slide. So yeah, that's what we're expecting in January 2024. And then people transitioning from incarceration to Justice Involved in 2024. Next slide. So let's talk about these community supports, because I think that's probably what's most important. So Cal Optima Health opted to launch all 14 of the community support. So I'm going to touch on all of them briefly, and then allow questions if you have some more specifically about those for unhoused. Health plans do not have to launch any of them. They can launch 2 of them, they can launch 5 of them, they can launch all 14. We launched all 14 because, like I mentioned before, we're the only show in town, so we kind of had to hold that responsibility. But the health plans in LA have not launched all 14. That's the bad news. However, the good news is that almost all of them, if not all of them, have launched these on this slide. And those are the benefits that revolve around our unhoused neighbors. And the first one is recuperative care. So recuperative care has been around for a while, but it was something that hospitals had to pay for, or grants and nonprofits that ran recuperative care. Now recuperative care is a benefit of Medi-Cal for unhoused individuals, and they have a benefit for up to 90 days. So they can get that benefit coming out of the hospital. They also could be coming from the street. They do not have to come for the hospital for recuperative care. This is not a lifetime benefit. They could use it over and over again. So if they use it for 90 days and then find themselves back in the hospital, they could have access to this benefit again. The way health plans authorize it is different by health plan. Some health plans authorize it 30 days at a time. Some authorize it 14 days at a time. Here at Cal Optima Health, we do 30 days at a time. So it just depends on the plan. Of course, you know, recuperative care is for individuals that are unhoused that still have some lingering health issues when they exit the hospital and need some additional time to recuperate. I say all the time that if I were to go to the hospital, I would not go right to work from the hospital. I would need to go home and recover that last bit and gain my strength. And if you're unhoused, you're no different. And so recuperative care provides that space. So that is now a Medi-Cal benefit.
Hey, Kelly, can I ask some questions since we're on this topic?
Please.
Yeah, so this is pretty transformational, because one of the biggest complaints we have is that when we 5150 someone or bring someone in off the streets, they have to release them after the 72-hour hold, and they oftentimes return back out onto the street. So now you're saying hospitals can create these recuperative care beds and they would be reimbursed by Medi-Cal through this CalAIM community supports program. So I mean, that's what I'm hearing. Is that
So let me explore. So fortunately for you, that was what my old nonprofit did, was recuperative care. So I know more than the average bird about this particular one. Recuperative care, for all intents and purposes, is supposed to be for medical needs, not behavioral health needs. However, we both know that it's impossible to be healthy on the street, right? You cannot be healthy. So chances are, if somebody's been admitted to a hospital, there's some medical needs that are going on as well. If it's a straight 5150, Ronson, then chances are recuperative care is not going to take them for a straight behavioral health issue. I think you can expect to see that changing in the future, because I do think that behavioral health recuperative care beds are on the horizon, but we haven't quite gotten there yet. But also health plans can make that choice. They can make the choice. If somebody is in the hospital and they've been hospitalized, then yes, they have access to this benefit. So the hospital would, well, depends on the health plan, of course, but each health plan is different. But yes, they have access to that benefit. And the hospital would more than likely be the one reaching out to the recuperative care and seeing if they have availability, and then the health plan would pay for it.
Okay. And so like usually it has to be like a comorbidity where it's not just behavioral health, but maybe they have some physical ailments too. That they can.
And different health plans interpret it different ways. You know, like, you know, and I'm not speaking out of school, because they're just different. Some of them are more flexible than others as to what medical conditions they will consider it to be appropriate for recuperative care. You know, LA Care is a little bit more stringent, you know, and what they will accept. where an Anthem is a little bit more flexible. You know, it just depends. But the hospital, yes, has access to this benefit now, and they should be exploring it before they discharge somebody. Absolutely.
Would
Yeah.
this make them whole though? Because I mean, what I commonly hear is it's so expensive for the hospital to administer this because their beds are so expensive.
Well,
Would
the
this make
hospital, the
them
hospital
whole?
doesn't run recuperative care. Community-based organizations run recuperative care.
Oh, okay, I see. So they would have to partner with a nonprofit locally, and then do this handoff.
Well, no, they
Um,
shouldn't have to. They should be able to call, the unhoused individual, their patient's insurance company, and say, hey, Kelly Bruno Nelson is at my hospital and she is unhoused and she needs recuperative care. Because it's not the hospital's responsibility, it's the health plan's responsibility. So the hospital should be able to call up, just like they would call up if you needed a catheter or you needed surgery. It's the same thing. They should be able to call up and say, John Doe is here and has been here for 2 days and he needs recuperative. He's unhoused. He has medical conditions that need to continue to be monitored. He needs recuperative care.
Okay,
Can I
got
ask
it.
a question?
Yes.
Mhm.
Hi, Janet Turner with Congressman Ted Lieu. So where are these beds?
Right.
And who's paying for them during the time that they're not being used?
That's a great question. So, in the past, it was up to the nonprofit to piece together the money to keep them open. And like I said, I used to run 5 of them. So I had to get money I used to have to market to hospitals because hospitals used to pay for this, Janet. That's because Medi-Cal, the insurance, did not pay for it. And so hospitals paid for it for the exact reason that Ronson just identified, is that it was cheaper for the hospital to pay for the recuperative care bed than it was to pay for the hospital bed. Hospital beds run about $3,000 a day. Recuperative care beds run about $250. So it was a pure business model, right? So recuperative care providers such as me and my former wife, we had contracts with hospitals and they would pay us to take those individuals out of the hospital and provide care. As of January 1st, 2022, so a little bit over a year ago, this is now a covered benefit. So now health plans contract with recuperative care providers in across the state to provide this service. So now the recuperative care providers get their funding from health plans because we pay for that. So for example, I can tell you providers in Los Angeles, of course, you have the Illumination Foundation, you have my old nonprofit, National Health Foundation, you have Serenity. Those are, to name a few, Harbor. These are all organizations that provide recuperative care, and now they're being paid by the health plan. Does that answer your question?
We also have a
Thanks so
question
much.
from Sherry as well.
Hi, Sherry.
Hey, Kelly, and thank you for bringing this up. We actually are a CalAIMS recipient as well.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, so a lot of that work, and Janet, just to let you know that all the recuperative care that you just listed out there are under contract now with DHS, and they're getting, CalAIMS billing through the work that they do. So Serenity, Illumination Foundation, but Ronson, just to even kind of take it a step further. So a lot of the patients now that are experiencing homelessness and coming through the healthcare system, our hospital liaison is doing a lot of coordination with the hospitals, especially our partner hospitals, to get them connected to recuperative care and make those internal referrals to work with the social discharge planners and social workers at the hospitals, because a lot of times it's not that easy and straightforward. So we want to try to help them to navigate that system a little bit better. And we have those inbred partnerships for probably at least the last 3 to 4 years now. But it's, it's starting to work a lot better in the CalAIMS. Thank you, for having this, to see that really homelessness and healthcare do walk hand in hand.
100%. 100%.
Great.
Thank you, Sherry. Well, first off, I love this group because yes, you need to interject at any time if you have a question, because when I listen to presentations, I always have a question, then I forget it. So please speak up. I love that. So thank you for that. So the other 3 supports that CalAIM covers for our unhoused neighbors are housing transition, navigation services, housing deposits, and housing tenancy. So that is basically the before and the after of homelessness. So housing navigation is basically a case manager that will help an individual who is unhoused find housing, right? So a case manager that will help them get a voucher if they're eligible, help them figure out what income that they're eligible for. It's a housing navigator. And that benefit is available up until that person is housed. Of course, like I said, each health plan interprets it a little bit differently, but that is now a benefit of Medi-Cal. Once that individual finds housing with their navigator, they're eligible for housing deposits. And this is a $5,000 benefit that a one-time only benefit that every member has access to that will help them pay for first and last month's rent, turning on the utilities, any sort of expenses associated with getting a person housed, with the exception of rent. That's the only thing it can't pay for, but it can pay for all those other things. So if somebody, like I said, if somebody has a housing navigator, they find the place they need to live, but they have to pay a deposit, this can pay that deposit. And that is a one-time benefit that everybody that's on Medi-Cal has access to. Once that person does get housed, then they would transition from navigation services to tenancy services. So now that social worker would remain with them, or case manager would remain with them for at least a year after they are housed in order to make sure that they remain housed. So it's kind of wraparound services. Hi, Catherine, do you have a question? I think
I do.
Yeah.
I work a lot with the seniors directly. And my question is, the case manager is coming, they're basically a medical type person?
For the housing, for the navigation services?
Yeah, or is it a second person that you have?
For housing, so these supports on the right and in the orange box are separate from recuperative care. So these are for individuals not in recuperative care. They're just individuals that are unhoused. So they're not medically based. No, they're social based. So that housing navigator is more than likely a social worker or a case manager.
Okay. Do you connect with the nonprofits to locate this housing? Because I know here it's almost impossible. I mean, like I said, I work with the seniors and it's almost impossible for me to find housing for them. And a lot of them need like permanent supportive type housing services. So where are we finding these?
Sure. So
situations?
That's a great question. So I should have probably backed up and said, because I did not say this. The health plan doesn't provide any of these services. These are now just services that we pay for. So we now have to contract with community-based organizations to provide the services. So Catherine, if you, I don't know where you work or what nonprofit you lead, but if you had the Catherine nonprofit and was out there and you were helping seniors, older adults find housing, then you would more than likely be contracting with me to provide housing navigation, because that's what you're doing. You're helping them navigate to housing. So then I would now pay you to provide that service for that individual, because that individual has a benefit that you are now fulfilling. So that is what the difference here is now nonprofits that provide these services can contract with health plans such as myself to be able to be reimbursed for providing these services.
Okay, because the program that I'm tied to right now is through Harbor Interfaith, but we are a direct state funded program for the seniors, the Adult Protective Service, the Home Safe program.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if there's any benefit for us to connect with this type of program for some of our seniors who we run into, although a lot of them may, or, because they do wind up at the hospitals.
100%. I mean, if you were providing assistance to an older adult, to a senior, and you felt that they were at risk of becoming unhoused if their housing is a little unstable, or if they are currently unhoused, then yes, you should be able to call up their insurance company, be it LA Care, Anthem, HealthNet, Blue Shield Promise, and say, hey, I have Kelly Bruno in my office. She is a member of yours and she is unhoused. She needs a housing navigator. And then they should be able to connect you to that housing navigator, because the person you're helping is eligible for that service. Absolutely.
I'm going to be quite honest with you, and I get the phone call the opposite way. They call me. and say, where are we going to house them? Okay, I mean, that's kind of the way this goes.
Sure, sure. The health plan does.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, well, the health, and that makes sense because the health, well, they're gonna do that, but now that, but you're not a housing navigator unless they're gonna contract with you to be a housing navigator. But otherwise, they should be able to say, first off, it may be that individual you're helping already has a housing navigator and they could let you know who that is so that you can make contact. But if not, then you could refer that person for this benefit. Yeah, this has only been like 13 months in the making, and health
Yeah.
plans are very, very slow. So I've learned that now that I've been here. So this is like brand spanking new in health plan world.
Yeah, it is.
But these are benefits. And also, if you have someone that you're helping, Catherine, that is, moving into a house, they have access to that housing deposit money, and that's available through their health plan. These are like,
Very interesting. I'll have to look into this and. Mhm.
So, I mean, it sounds like one of the things we should do now in case management services is to check their health plans and see if we have relationships with the health planning agency to get additional funding for the work that we're doing.
yeah, I mean, if you tell me, if I know what kind of organization that, we could talk about that, what organization each of you work for. I mean, I can tell you whether you should just be contacting your health plans and saying, hey, I'd like to contract with you for this particular service. Like Sherry, I think you mentioned you do recuperative care. Is that what you said?
No, actually, we have 2 of our interim housing sites
Okay.
that are case management services through DHS are being billed through CalAIM, and we started back in July of 2022.
Oh, great. Probably through IPP dollars or HHIP dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
That's awesome.
And I think too, the other idea is that we know Measure H dollars is kind of the big bulk of funds that goes into homeless services. With the possibility of it sunsetting in 2027. So, CalAIMS is really, for the longevity of some of the services that we do was kind of a promise too, that we could really help these medically vulnerable people. And the other thing too, to look at, I mean, on an LA landscape, LASA offers interim housing sites, but we've been able to distinguish that the DHS site are going to take the more medically vulnerable. So 2 kind of criterias that we're looking at is those that have some disabling condition, physical health, mental health, or even substance abuse coming into our sites. So then we can do the work through CalAIMS.
The way to look at this very, very basically is these are medical benefits. The way, like, if you broke your arm, you would have a benefit, to be able to go have your arm fixed. If you need your appendix taken, you have your medical insurance pays for that surgery. Your Medi-Cal now pays for these services as if they are medical services. And so your people that you're serving are entitled to these services.
And
It's
I
really
think
the
the other thing, Kelly, too, is just really getting them connected with primary care. Because as we know, most of our population, their only healthcare access is through an emergency room.
And that's the reason for the ECM services that I talked about before. That's exactly what an ECM provider would do. That whole person kind of care management, 100%. Well, let's go to the next slide, because I want to briefly talk about the other benefits before I see if there's any additional questions. So these are the benefits that we launched, like I said, in January. Here's a couple more of the benefits that CalAIM offers. One of them is short-term post-hospitalization housing. And that benefit is intended to go concurrently with recuperative care. So if somebody's in recuperative care for 90 days and then they haven't quite found housing yet, then they could then go into short-term post-hospitalization, which would give them another 6 months. Oftentimes, recuperative care programs also provide short-term housing. It's the same provider, but collectively, those 2 things could provide 9 months of housing for an individual. If somebody is in short-term post-hospitalization housing, it has to go in tandem with housing navigation services, which of course makes sense because we want to be able to help them find a house. Rehabilitation programs, services is a benefit now that folks are eligible for that will help them regain skills necessary to successfully live at home. So if somebody needs to learn how to grocery shop or do laundry or pay bills or interact with landlords, all of those things are considered rehabilitation programs. And now that is a benefit that Medi-Cal pays for. specifically for unhoused population. Personal care and homemaker services is a benefit that's intended to, this really isn't for the unhoused. It's more intended to go on top of in-home supportive services. So if somebody is receiving in-home supportive services, this would be able to provide that until that's approved. Oftentimes folks need in-home supportive services, but there's a wait period before that gets approved. Now we would pay for it until it gets approved so that there's no window of waiting anymore. Medically tailored meals, just that, if somebody is coming out of the hospital, going home, or if they have a condition like, COPD or, congestive heart failure, something like that requires them, or diabetes, that requires them to have a specific kind of medically tailored meal, low sodium, etc. We now pay for that. So those meals could be delivered to them, to their home, kind of like a Meals on Wheels. Sobering centers are popping up around as well, and this is the benefit of Medi-Cal now, where if somebody finds themselves in a situation of needing a place to sober up, instead of going to the emergency room, they can now go to a sobering center for that service. Next slide, please. And then the last of the services that we just launched here, respite services are actually for caregivers. So if somebody is caring for someone that is a Medi-Cal recipient and they need a break, like kind of like adult day health care, something like that, we will pay for that service. We actually pay for home modifications. If somebody's in their home and they need a ramp or they need grab bars of that nature, that is now Medi-Cal benefit. And then transition services, somebody who is in a nursing home that doesn't need to be in a nursing home, that would like to live at a lower level of care, they need a case manager to make that happen. These benefits are now available through Medi-Cal. And then finally, asthma remediation, which is a service specifically for those that have asthma. We come in and make home modifications or necessary to help them be able to breathe better. The asthma remediation benefit and the home modification are a $7,500 annual benefit, once in a lifetime benefit. So it's pretty substantial. I know I've thrown a lot at you and I apologize for that, but I think it's important that you recognize and know all the benefits that are available, because again, these are like medical benefits that those that you serve are now eligible to receive.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
I missed this.
Good, Sherry.
I think we could all use the respite care, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today.
I missed it.
But the other thing I was going to ask about too is there any prescription drug delivery services too? Because a lot of our folks, even at our interim housing sites, don't have transportation. I mean, right now we're using case management services, so that may be the recommended method for them to pick up prescriptions. But I was just wondering if you're aware of anything like that.
For medication delivery?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Unfortunately, no. Yes, what you just described is the way you would arrange transportation. Health plans pay for transportation. But I hear you on that. And I will tell you, that was one of my biggest accomplishments when I was at NHF, was that I found a pharmacy that would deliver our medication.
I'm still working on it, and I'm going to find one yet.
It took the way I did it was I called skilled nursing facilities, because every skilled nursing facility has to have their medications delivered. And I asked them if they use. I worked backwards to find somebody. Just FYI, that's how
I
I
appreciate that lead. I'll look into it.
I couldn't find it any other way. I was calling pharmacies and I couldn't get through. I couldn't figure it out. So I just called a nursing home. They told me who they used, one that was close to my recuperative care. And then that's how I figured it out.
Lovely.
Ronson?
Hi, Ronson.
Yes, so like, I'm just wondering, like, so we have a lot of city funded like outreach work, housing navigation. We actually have city funded like, pallet shelters. And I'm just wondering like, I mean, I'm sure like most, like, if not, a lot of the participants in these programs have, Medi-Cal. And so I'm just wondering if the service they're already providing, if they get connected to the health plan provider, if they can be reimbursed for that services.
They should. That's a great question. That's a really great question. And the answer is yes, they can. So when the services that most of the services that you're discussing are funded in totality. It's not connected to the person, it's connected to the nonprofit, right? And the nonprofit provides the service. Our benefits are connected to the person. Okay, so the nonprofit is going to have to show that, of course, that I would assume the health plan would want them to show that their money is not being used for the exact same thing. But as long as it's not being used for the exact same thing, then there's no reason they can't bill for that on top of it. And that's what I tell all the this is a source of unrestricted dollars that nonprofits should be taking advantage of. So we all know our staff is underpaid. We all know we don't have enough staff. We all know we don't, we would like to have a higher quality of food. Rent went up. I don't know. There's a zillion things that happen. This money can fill the cracks. It can fill in the cracks. So yes, a nonprofit could do both because our money is connected to the individual, not the organization.
Right. So if the city, let's say, has their own outreach work or housing navigation, and they do want to now partner with the plan, I guess how difficult is that? Like, is there a lot of paperwork involved? Do they need to hire more administrative staff? Like how difficult is that process to seek reimbursement?
Sure.
Yeah.
And all I can say is it depends on the health plan. It is making social benefits, medical benefits. So yes, there is a billing process. You have to, you get an authorization like you would for any health service, and then you put in for claims. Our job, my job, why I was hired here at Cal Optima Health, is to make that process as easy as possible for our nonprofits. And that's all I do is tell people it's not that hard. Come on into the fold. We'll work with you because we want to get as many people in as possible. But every health plan is different. I probably, Sherry doesn't know yet, but I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's a piece of cake because I don't think that's true. But I do think that some health plans, like I said, are easier than others to work with. And the reimbursement is substantial. I mean, housing navigation is, for us, we pay $449 a month. Housing tenancy is $449 a month. I mean, these are, if you're providing housing tenancy services or navigation services to 20 people, that's a substantial amount of money for your nonprofit. So
Wow.
So at that point, it becomes cost effective for you to do this. So it's not small dollars. Also, just so that you're aware, health plans have what's called incentive program dollars, IPP dollars, and those dollars are intended to help build the infrastructure necessary to provide these services. So they could provide, dollars for you to hire the biller, right? To get the computers that you need, or to build the infrastructure necessary to provide the service. And those dollars IPP is coming out for 3 years and we're just in year 2. So all health plans have access to IPP dollars. And that's something that if a nonprofit wants to get into the space, they should be asking about.
Okay. And just last question, is Scan Health part of that network? Okay. Because I know they're pretty big in our area, and they already seem to have their own homeless outreach staff. So it sounds like they're already tapping into this funding to support that.
They're probably a little bit ahead of the curve because they're a SHMO, as we call it, a social HMO. So they've been doing a lot of these benefits beforehand, but yes, they're definitely in the loop.
What about someone running like a PACE program, like Wellbe Health or pardon?
Yeah, PACE. We have PACE here too.
Okay.
If somebody is in a PACE program, they are not eligible for these services because PACE is all-inclusive care for the elderly. So many of these services are already included in the PACE model. And so it will be a duplication of services.
Gotcha.
It's a great question. Bronson, you're going to give the presentation next time. They don't even need me. I'm just going to say, I'm going to put you on.
Hey, when I hear there's money out there, I'm at it.
You're in it. Well,
He's always after it.
well, I recognize that, like I said, this is a lot, and I mean this sincerely, that I'm available to answer any questions anybody might have after this. Rodney, you're welcome to share my email, and I'm happy to chat with anyone that would like to chat or share any information. If I know it, I'm happy to share it.
Thanks, Kelly. That was a wealth of information. I'm telling you, it was a lot to consume in this short period of time. But yes, make sure that you reach out to Kelly if you have questions, because there's a wealth of knowledge and there's a wealth of money out there that she'll put you in contact with. And so we're really glad that you came here and shared your information with us today. But reach out to her. I'm sure she's got her email and information in the chat. So make sure that you give her a buzz if you need it. Any last questions for Kelly? No, thanks, Kelly. We appreciate you.
My pleasure. Have a good day, everyone.
You also. Okay, we're going to move on to number 6, and that's LA County Local Solution Funds and Safe Landing. Ronson, you're on.
Yeah, just give me 1 second, pull up some slides. So yeah, so we're in the middle of getting our local solutions fund SLW drafted and processed. But I just wanted to share what we've shared already with a lot of our cities. And so hold on, let me just pull up the slide. Okay. So here we go. Okay, so the Innovation Fund, Local Solutions Fund is essentially Innovation Fund 3.0. It's an extension of the county CEO HI's office and their recognition that cities and COGs play a huge role in the rehousing efforts. So they're providing more funding for our programs. In the fiscal year 23-24 period, we were awarded additional $2 million on top of the $1.2 million we have right now for the Innovation Fund 2.0 programs that we have. And the draft SLW was due yesterday, actually, and we submitted it. So I just wanted to share the things that we're looking to fund in this next go around. So we definitely want to extend our current successful Innovation Fund programs, which is the Inglewood Guardian and Homeless Coordination efforts, the Hawthorne Intensive Case Management efforts, our investments in homeless courts, our Beach Cities outreach, and of course our very successful client aid program. And then the next batch of programs we like to think of it like as a basket of programs that cities can opt into. These are going to be shared resources for everyone. And this is based off of discussions I've had with all of you throughout the course of the year on what are some of our gaps, some of our needs as a region. And so we came up with this basket of resources as a result of those discussions year round. So the first thing is a shared regional housing navigator. We have outreach workers, but their capacity to really engage with landlords and negotiate leases and all that good stuff is very limited, especially when they're dealing with caseloads of 20, 30 people. And so we want to have a housing navigator that we can all share that can provide a list of housing inventory at any given time and connect people to housing and develop that deep relationship with our landlords. We know that seniors are our fastest growing homeless demographic, which is unfortunate. The cost of living, rent, they're all exceeding the fixed income that our seniors have. And then also the senior programs are very hard to navigate. They're very complicated and confusing. Medi-Cal, Medicare, PACE, all that stuff, APS. And so what we're looking to do is to maintain some expertise in this area with a shared homeless coordinator. Another thing we're looking to do is to maybe expand the use of share in our region. We know like some of our cities are already using this. Manhattan Beach is one example, but the idea is to maybe secure more share beds for the South Bay. Time limited subsidies. So, this has been a topic of conversation for the past year. LAHSA has gone in a different direction with time limited subsidies, allocating slots to those who are already in a LAHSA shelter. And so that leaves some of our cities without shelters at a disadvantage. And then we also have other subsidy providers like the Salvation Army, which with very limited slots, and they tend to run out of money as the year goes on. And so what we want to do is come up with a subsidy program to complement those other programs and to fill gaps where needed. We also are thinking of a short-term motel stay program in which cities can utilize motels as sort of like as a transitional short-term bed. And the idea is that the cities could use this funding to lease a motel room for maybe 6 months at a time and place people in there as needed. And so we have some cities that are interested in this, and we can help reimburse that. And then the last thing is tax default properties. And so we all know ultimately what we like to see is more supportive housing. there is a county program right now which allows cities and certain nonprofits to purchase tax default properties. So tax default property is basically what it sounds like. We all pay property taxes. Sometimes you can't pay it, and then if you can't pay it, you run into default, and the county can take the property away. And so you could acquire these properties for basically the amount of the debt. And so this is an option for cities if they are interested, and they can buy these properties. They're like parking lots, warehouses, single family homes, turn them into group homes or supportive housing. So this is a great opportunity to leverage that. I've never seen this done before. It's a new program, so kind of excited about it and curious to see how that would work. So anyways, that's just briefly what we're looking to do. And yeah, just wanted to share that. But yeah, that's it.
Thanks, Watson. We always appreciate that you're always out there getting money for us, and another 2 million is a great feat for us. So we thank you for all your efforts that you're doing for our homeless.
Can I add to that?
Yes, Jackie.
Ranjan just presented this, rather rapidly right now, and he's talked to the cities about it. But we do have a couple of weeks in which we're going to be working with the county on refining this and, making it, fine tuning it, I guess you'd say. So if you have ideas that you're want to get to us, there's still time. And if you think that there's something you really think that this program is super fantastic, a little support email from you would be helpful as well. So please, and maybe Lori, you can send this out separately to everybody, and they could just take a look at that the slides of what we're going to do, because we Oni just came on, and we want to assure Oni that we're not doing this in a vacuum, and I want to give you every opportunity to comment on it. Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Okay, so if you want to put your 2 cents in, make sure you put your 2 cents in. Okay, do we have any legislative updates? Lori, Ronson,
Eric, does Eric have something?
Janet.
Janet's here.
Hi, Janet.
Can I go?
Sure, jump in.
So you may have seen on February 27th that HUD put out a press release that they're giving $5.6 billion in funding for homeless housing nationwide. And we're just starting to break that down. Overall, approximately 20 million is coming to Los Angeles County for community development block grants, 9.4 million in HOME investment partnerships, and 1.7 million in emergency solution grants. Now, a couple of cities we have been able to break down. Redondo Beach is going to be receiving $268,834 in community development block grants. Hawthorne is going to be receiving approximately 1.2 million in community block grants and 635,000 in HOME investment partnerships. That's just a few cities. Obviously, the city of Los Angeles is receiving a lot of money. They're receiving 50 million in community block grants and 29 in HOME, 4.4 million in emergency solutions grants. But I realize LA City is such a small part of the South Bay. But I just, thought I would pass that along. Our office is going to be putting out new guidelines for community project funding. It's not going to be as widespread as it has been in the past, but those guidelines will be coming out in the next day or two, and I will make sure that they are distributed to you. We're very excited that some of it is going to be funded again.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think I saw Eric Ponce. Are you on, Eric?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric. I am with Assemblymember Alma Ritsuchi's office. I just wanted to update the task force on 2 bills that might be of importance. The first one being AB 67, which is the Homeless Court Pilot Program. So this bill would establish a competitive grant pilot program administered by the Judicial Council to establish comprehensive community-based services to homeless individuals. So the bill did pass the Public Safety Committee, and it is currently in the Judiciary Committee with no hearing date as of today. The second bill is AB 1035. This bill is a result of a meeting that the assembly member had with residents of Skyline Mobile Home Park in Torrance, who saw a huge increase in rent. And as you may know, many of these residents are seniors and on fixed income. So the assembly member wanted to propose AB 1035, which is the Mobile Home Affordable Housing Act. And what this bill would do, it would prevent mobile home space rent from increasing more than 3%, plus the percentage of change in cost of living, or 5% annually, whichever is lower. And it would include transfer protections. Existing local ordinances will not be impacted and will be allowed to continue to govern. And it is also being sponsored by the Golden State Manufactured Homeowners League. And yep, those are the two bills that I wanted to update the task force on today.
Thanks, Eric. So I don't see any others that are on the Zoom. So thank you for those legislative updates. We appreciate it. How about Jackie from the COG?
Lori's got her hand up. I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry, Laurie. Your little hand is covered
Okay.
there. I'm
It's
sorry.
hard to watch everybody. I just had a quick question for Erica. I'm not sure if you can answer this, but when we're looking at mobile home parks, quite a few of these seniors are residents there. Do these qualify for housing vouchers for their rent or Section 8 housing? A lot of these people are on fixed incomes, and at Skyline in particular, the rents for the land there has gone up. Do you know if this is a possibility?
I'm not really sure. I would not know the full status of these individuals. So
Okay, I
yeah.
caught you off guard. I'll make a note to
Yeah.
follow up. Thank you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Any other questions? I kind of miss those little hands once in a while. Okay, none. Okay, now Jackie, go ahead.
Now I can go. This is, it's March 1st, and March at the South Bay COG is General Assembly Month.
Yeah.
We're General Assembly all the time, every day, besides helping homeless people. Our General Assembly is March 23rd. It's going to be 9 to 3 at the Carson Community Center. It's free because we have sponsors, and if anybody knows of anybody that wants to sponsor, we're always looking for that. We provide a continental breakfast and lunch, but only for those that RSVP because we really need an accurate count. This year, it's the South Bay leading the way in resilience and adaptability. And our first, we're going to start off with our first panel, which is going to talk about water, a lot of water issues, how we can possibly grow with the impacts of water. Now we'll all talk about, does snow turn into water in our tap, I guess. But we have some experts coming, and then we're following our experts with they're also experts, our local agencies, what Torrance Water is doing, what Lomita Water is doing. And so we've really involved our local groups so that we can talk about how the South Bay is leading the way on resilience and adaptability. After that panel, I think we have our keynote speaker. We're very excited about him. Gene Rodriguez he has just been confirmed by the United States Senate to be an Assistant Secretary of Energy dealing with electricity. And I understand his portfolio is the grid, which is of course important to everyone. And he will be speaking with us. He's been a longtime friend at the COG when he used to work at Southern California Edison, and he's a Manhattan Beach resident. After him, we have a panel on innovations. We're going to hear from Alta Sea on some of the work they're doing on marine capture of saving carbon emissions and creating energy. We're going to hear from the Hydrogen Council on how that is having an impact. And there's more, which I don't have in front of me. And then we're ending the day with something we've never done before, which we think is going to be a unique perspective. All of us are planning for a future that isn't necessarily ours. And so we are having a youth panel of people from 11th grade to just recently graduated from college who will be on a panel to talk about whether the things they heard during the day are the future, are preparing for the future that they want, and what cities need to know and how cities need to prepare for their future. Our day includes a lot of fun things. We have a photo contest where we'll announce the winner. Our photo, if you're a photographer, we're taking pictures of landmarks in the South Bay, not the last year when we did it, it was all coastline. So we're asking you to find other kinds of landmarks. And then we sometimes, I don't know if we're gonna have it this year, but we usually end up having a raffle. So I hope you'll come. I hope you'll take our notice and send it to all your friends. And Lori, I don't know if we've sent out the General Assembly invitation, but we should, to this group. And that's our big news. After the General Assembly, we take a huge deep breath and get back to being more calm and collected. But the one thing we know is that Ronson and his team is not going to stop. And I do want to take the opportunity to say that through these horrible storms that we've had, for many people, we've all been able to be sheltered and taken care of. But Ronson has worked really hard with our case managers in the South Bay to try to house people during the storm. And I really want to thank him publicly for the over and above work that he does.
Oh, thanks, Jackie. Yeah, I just want to update everyone. So on this past weekend, we opened up 5 motel rooms. Our ability to do that, thanks to One, we were able to do a quick budget modification to allow client aid funds to be used for this purpose. We've had an outreach worker show me a screenshot of him being placed on hold up by 211 for about an hour and a half. And then we keep getting reports from other outreach workers that they've tried 211 3 times already that day and couldn't get through. So it just sounded like our winter shelters were being very stretched, to say the least. And so we opened up 5 rooms for very frail, elderly, kind of our most vulnerable population that's out there. We were able to get 5 people in. And one was an older gentleman in a walker. Another lady, she was freezing outside, and so when we got her to the room, she started crying. She was just very thankful, and it was nice. It was good that we could do that to help people because it was very dangerous conditions. Some good news. One of the people that we got into the motel, she actually decided she wanted to reunify with her family outside of the state. So we also use client aid to buy her a Greyhound bus ticket today. And I just got pictures of her boarding the bus, and she's going to reunify with her sister. So that was great. And just, we only housed 5 people, but I got over dozens of calls from people all across the region. Even outside of our county, I got calls from Riverside. I got calls from Van Nuys. So just a lot of people were just trying to seek shelter in the storm. So yeah, just it's been a crazy past couple of days.
You're going to become the homeless czar. People will continually call you.
Yeah.
You tend to be the one with the most information, so we thank you. Oni, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, again, thanks, Ronson, for opening that up. The Local Solutions Fund that you guys have, it's a great complement, and this is a perfect example of how it's utilized. At the same time, it should be utilized on emergency situations and not the normal course of business. And so what we're doing, and just to inform this crowd, is intensely working with LASA on really understanding the capacity, the realistic capacity. And then the second thing is the responsiveness to the cities. Because waiting 2 hours to find out some information that there is no vouchers or beds it's unacceptable. And so I do have a solution for that issue, which I'll communicate with Ronson for some of the cities. In terms of the capacity, we did find out a little bit more about kind of how that is designed. There is a realistic issue with capacity with housing during these times, and also the predictability of when weather happens and activation during like early stage pre-planning activities. So again, I'll let Ronson give a little bit more information on that and what we're going to do to actually build that up, share that information with you guys, because I think it's extremely important so that you guys have a realistic understanding of what is available and then who you can contact to get a faster response than waiting on the phone for 2 hours. So again, but appreciate the pivoting and nimbleness of the COG there. So thank you.
Thanks. And Ronson, a quick shout out to you from the city of Gardena. You were mentioned at our council meeting last night because you were instrumental in getting our homeless plan out. And it was presented at council last night. And I know you had a lot to do with that. And Jackie, you want to say anything about that across, Jackie? My Jackie?
No, I don't have anything to say. I assume that you guys adopted the plan and it
Yeah.
was great. Thank you.
Yeah, so our staff did a really great job. So thanks for helping with that. We appreciate it.
I also want to thank Lori too. She's, without her, a lot of this wouldn't be possible. So just want to make sure she's included in the.
Thanks, Lori. Okay, anything else from the COG?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Any announcements? And that's anybody have any announcements? No?
I do.
Okay.
Mr. Tanaka.
Wait a minute. I think I have Courtney first and I'll get right back to you, Alex.
All right.
Go ahead, Courtney.
Hi, sorry, Mr. Alex. I just wanted to say, as far as the hotel situation over, the past weekend and stuff, if ever you all, are like super desperate, we do have a hotel that we use, and it's a situation where we just, we call them and we tell the owner the name of the person, and then if they can get there, or we even have Lyft, we can send people in Lyft, they'll get there and they'll, bill us later. We have that rapport with them. So feel free to reach out to me anytime, especially in weather situations. All of our folks were inside a hotel. We made sure we didn't have, especially the seniors on the streets. And so feel free to reach out to me, email me or Anna, and we'll try to set that up. And, basically we'll just work with that person to try to get them into some type of, longer term housing. But, with weather situations and things like that, definitely give me or Anna a call and we'll, do the best we can to reach out to that hotel. And they emailed me and like, we got beds, we got, please send people. So anytime is weather, or, especially seniors, we don't want them on the streets like that. Give us a call because LASA on Friday, there was a situation with the referring system for the winter shelters and stuff on Friday. It was a glitch or something with the system. And so I know some of our other teams had some experiences with that. And so anytime, just feel free to give me or Anna a call or email, and we'll, do our best to get that person inside, and we'll start working with them.
Thanks, Courtney. Appreciate that. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you, gentlemen. Just to let you guys know, our tiny home project, the Bridge Hope project, probably going to be about a delay of 45 days because of this raining, because of the electric conduits that have to be put in. So because we were thinking that we were going to have a grand open on April 1st, but probably it's going to be delayed a little bit. But I'm hoping that maybe we can do that in May. Okay. And as you know, the tiny homes, the Hawthorne, the Hopper funds, we put $1.3 million into it from the Hopper fund. And then last night was recommended also to put another $150,000 to help the unhoused get job training to the South Bay Web. So we're doing our part for the homeless. So, and thank you all of you, because all this presentation was phenomenal. All the new agency coming on board. So I'm glad that the county's putting the money where the mouth are all about, right? So thank you very much.
Okay. Anybody else? Go ahead, Lori.
I just want to mention that Ronson and I are always working hard to find presentations that we feel will bring value to the work that you're doing. So if you have any ideas of organizations, or you have a specific program you think is successful that you'd like to share at a future meeting, please reach out to Ronson and I. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You guys aren't busy enough. I need more stuff to do. Okay, I'm looking for hands.
Oh, Neil, just really quickly, if I can share, this is from Mayor Pro Tem Bill Paul. He actually shared this with us. I didn't know this was happening, but there's a presentation about the county's emergency homeless response Wednesday, March 15th at 9:30 a.m. And I guess you're on the East Coast, it's on at 12:30 p.m. But you can RSVP by March 10th for this, and we'll send this out to along with this meeting information.
Oh, good, thanks. We get a lot, that's why we have such great attendance, because we have such great information that flows to this meeting. Okay, I'm scanning for hands and I don't see anything. So I guess I'm gonna let y'all go home early. How's that sound? Okay, so I do appreciate everybody attending this. It's really important, the homeless that we're taking care of. Lori Ronson, thank you so much just for all the hard work that you're doing. And we'll see you guys, I believe it is May 3rd. Okay, so mark that on your calendars. Next meeting will be May 3rd. Okay, God bless y'all. See you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.